this is what was getting me right here. I'm reading up on this article, and in the headlines, it says something about in Zimmerman's trial, mother's testimony might be influential, which I would think it would definitely be influential because it's the mom, right? But as I read further in the story, read further on what's going on. I mean, I haven't been really paying much attention to what was going on with the whole trial, but based on what the things that I have been hearing, it has been pissing me off to the point to where I didn't even really want to really look at it. But this showed up on my computer, and I started talking to my wife about it, and she could pretty much tell you that I was going off on it. So I'm about to share this rant with you. All right, so I'm reading into this story, and one of the first things that I'm reading on, because I have the article right here in front of me, and one of the first things that came to my attention was that it was talking about that the mothers came up to the stand, which the first one was Sabrina Fulton, which was Trayvon Martin's mother, right? They played the tape where it was the screaming, the 911 call, and all that. I'm not sure if y'all heard the video, the sound or not, or the tape or not. But if you listen to the tape, it really sounds like a 17-year-old kid screaming, right? So they played the tape in front of Trayvon's mother's ears, whatever, right? And right. So later on, Zimmerman's tape, and guess what she replies? Sounds like my son. I was like, bullshit. That is not your son screaming right there. Your son does not sound like a 17-year-old teenager. He is a grown ass man, but there is no way in hell he would sound like that. And on top of that, you know, I will get to that in a minute. Hold on, I'm gonna get to that in a minute. So I'm reading further into this story, and I'm reading up on what the prosecutors have said and what the defense attorneys have said. I'm looking at this again, and they're going to sit up there and say that there was no evidence that Zimmerman acted with ill will. It says right here in quote that Omar has also argued that there was no evidence that Zimmerman acted with ill will, hatred, or and because the fact that they played a tape where he made a 911 call, and he basically said in there that he's like, oh, they always get away. You know, they always get away. They never get caught. Some shit like that, right? And then on top of that, you know, the police told him, and he even says it in the story, that the police told him, do not chase, do not go after him. And he took it upon his own hands to go after this kid, all right, to try to prove a point that you know, because he got tired of kids or criminal teenagers getting away, whatever, right? So he goes after this kid, right? And then on top of that, you know, based on his story, he's talking about, oh, what he did was out of self-defense. Self-defense? Dude, if you never went after the kid, you wouldn't have to be in self-defense, first of all. Second of all, how in the hell do you get your ass beaten by a 17-year-old kid, which the attorneys even and the evidence proved that the damage that you sustained, but yet it was significant enough for you to sit up there and pull the trigger on a 17-year-old kid. But moving forward, all right. So, I mean, what the prosecutor even said in quote that there's two people involved here. One of them is dead, and the other one's a liar. Which the liar is Zimmerman. All right. He's already been. If I'm not mistaken, it even pinpointed. It was mentioned somewhere. I don't remember where I heard it from. But even Zimmerman even mentioned that he was going to get rich off of it in one of his stories, if I'm not mistaken. So he's basically making money off this trial. And anybody who defends Zimmerman, like the police officers or, you know, probably his mother or anything of this, anybody like that, his friend that so happened to see the two tussle, which it mentioned it in the story, the two tussle are all getting a part of the share of the money that they're gonna be getting if Zimmerman walks. All right. So this is my theory on this. All right. So they're basically saying that they don't have enough evidence. Even the forensics has not enough evidence to charge Zimmerman. Oh yeah. Speaking of forensics, they even mentioned that. What did it say right here? They said something about that being that it was raining that night, that the rain could have affected the evidence. Bullshit. Because forensics, top-notch forensics, can get data from no matter what the weather is. You know, I mean, come on, you can get data from a burnt house or snow or whatever. You know what I'm saying? If you can get data from these things, so you mean it's almost like you mean to tell me that anytime it rains, forensics will fail at pinpointing who did what, which is a poor excuse. You know, if that was the case, then they might as well not even go out there when it rains, because they pretty much can say, "Oh, I'm not going to get any kind of data out of this." You know, it's all washed up. So only thing we'll be able to get is whatever it wasn't touched by the rain. What are you getting paid for if that was the case? You know what I'm saying? So moving forward. All right. So let's see. So anyway, bottom line is, this is what was basically been pissing me off, is that they got all the data they need, all the evidence they need, but yet they steadily dragging this thing out. All right. Matter of fact, I'm even put this one, what the prosecutor said. It says, and I'll say in quote, the prosecutors argue that the limited extent of the wounds made Zimmerman's version of events unbelievable. A barrage of blows should have done more damage to Zimmerman and resulted in a more blood on Martin's clothing. The prosecution said none of Zimmerman's DNA was found underneath Martin's fingernails. None of Martin's DNA was found on the gun, and which the prosecution expert said. Which, here's the bullshit. Defense and cross-examinations already questioned those fighting scenes being contaminated by the rain, which is what I mentioned before. And they said the police did not wrap Martin's hands in plastic. Why? But anyway, Martin's wet clothes were stored in plastic, which could have led to deterioration or whatever of the poor test results as well, which is bullshit. So the defense just pretty much just sucks ass, and he's just saying that shit because he wants Zimmerman to win, which is what the defense does. But anyway, and here's what I was like, what the fuck. So they said something about, where the prosecution said Zimmerman used his knowledge of police procedure and self-defense law to tailor his responses to authorities, and the defense said that he was trying to better himself by seeking career in law enforcement. What? So your way of bettering yourself and seeking career in law enforcement is to disobey what the police had just told you, to go after a 17-year-old kid on your own, and the kid is not going to jail or anything. He's not being told, "Oh, don't, whatever you did, don't do it again," or he's not walking away in handcuffs. He's dead. So how is that bettering your way of getting into a career? How is that? I mean, from what I'm understanding, he's even being looked at as a hero by some. How does that make you a hero? It does not make you a hero whatsoever, because a mother just lost their son, and then you got your mother going up there going to say that you're the one that screamed. Bullshit. So, I mean, have y'all even seen the picture of Zimmerman? I'm not sure if y'all seen it, but I'm sure a lot of you have. So you will see that how big this guy is and how small Trevor Martin is. So you mean to tell me that you are so afraid of your life to a 17-year-old kid who was unarmed, by the way, and you were scared for your life because you took it upon yourself to go after him, and you ended up being on the bottom or whatever, which they said that you was on the bottom, he was beating your ass, and you took it upon yourself because you were so scared that you pulled a gun out and you shot. Now, the tape even played. When the tape played, it was if I'm not mistaken, it was like 17 screams for help. Now, during this process, I was even getting mad by listening to it because the neighbor who recorded the whole thing was too busy, was putting her kids away, but she didn't bother to see what was going on. She didn't try to outwitness. She was so scared, and if I'm not, and it was like nobody bothered to go out there. Nobody. The 911 call. Nobody. So as many calls as it took for help, not one person went over there to help him, and basically he got shot. And when I heard that tape, this is a personal thing. When I heard that tape, I was like, this is how our society has pretty much become. Because when people ask for help, we just pretty much like, you're on your own. You know what I'm saying? We're not gonna do that. No, we're not gonna meddle with that affair. You're on your own. So if they end up being dead, all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, no, he died. Now all of a sudden you have feelings because a kid died, but you had a chance to save him. He yelled for help over 15 times. That was more than enough time for somebody to go in there and break the thing up. Matter of fact, Zimmerman's friend. It said that Zimmerman's friend, which his name is John Good, he said that he saw them tussle. Okay. Why didn't you go over there and break up the fight? You see what I'm saying? Why didn't you go over there and be like, what are you doing? Or, question them what they were doing. Why didn't you do anything about it? So matter of fact, you might have been also conspiring into it because you might have already known what Zimmerman was going to do. Zimmerman might have told you what he was going to do. So he stood up there and was like, oh, I watched them tussle. Or you would have been told the story. So to me, his opinion is not void. So anyway, and it says here that the versions which were selected versions of Zimmerman's testimony was played by Fox News of all people. But Fox News is known for lying about shit. They're known for posting up bullshit, talking about bullshit, because they really one-sided. So they would say things that's one-sided. They're not gonna say things from hearing a story from that dealt with Trayvon Martin or whatever, and then they put the two together and then come up with a decision or a story or a decision or whatever that would pretty much break the ice. They don't do break the ice stuff. They one-sided. So anyway, it's just this story it's just a story that was just like really, really pissed me off. And it even said here in the last paragraph, it says, by the jury's contemplation of the case during the second, two anguished mothers who each insisted it was her son who was screaming for help were among the last voices heard in the court. So, so to me, the mother should have been the biggest piece of evidence that you would need, and I mean, it's the mom, so anybody who would know their son better than anybody else would be the mom, so I truly believe Zimmerman's mother was lying. Zimmerman was lying the entire time. The defense is just trying to do his job, but he's being a liar. He's just trying to fuck shit up just so Zimmerman walks. The mother of Trayvon Martin was telling the truth. The prosecutor is definitely on point. The evidence is pretty much on point. It's there. And it's pretty much clear. This is the way I see it, which I'm sure a lot of you see it. If Zimmerman walks, he will have to pretty much flee the country. Because if he stays in this country, his ass is pretty much grass. If he goes to jail, his ass is pretty much grass. So he has, this is probably the most, or the biggest reason that I would think he would come up with of why he feels he must win. And on top of that, his story has been numerously changing. So anybody who was telling the truth, that story would stay on point all the way through. It would not change. So even if it was added shit to it, it would still make sense. Zimmerman's did not make sense. And on top of that, one of the things that he even said that was even pissed me off was that he said something about God told him to do it. God told you to kill a 17-year-old kid. What? No. I don't think God would do that. So, basically, that was my rant on that. I'm pretty sure I put up a lot of points on it. It's a good thing that I'm not a lawyer, because I'm pretty much would be pissed off to the point that I would want to pretty much punch the shit out of Zimmerman, just straight through his head. And I would lose my job for that. But there's a lot of things that I will point up that they probably discussed in court already, or haven't discussed in court already. And I'm sure that a lot of us has thought a lot about the same things as I have. So if you haven't, then hopefully I brought up some good points that you haven't realized yet. If you haven't realized it, but again, that's my video on that. But I'm cool now. Woosah, woosah, whatever. Y'all have a great day. That's my video for today. Good night.